Shri Gurubhyo Namaha children, you are welcome for online class. Class 10th we were doing 6th unit lesson. The last lesson, first part had been over and today we are going to see the second part of it. And the first part we saw that the boy was just coming, Frank, who is coming late to the school, and he was not liking the French participle, and he does not know that it was his last French class, because there was a war problem and the two nations have been, two cities of that place have been occupied by German. The next day onwards they must not learn France, they have to start their Germanic class, and that day was the French class, and it was the last lesson for them, and we saw that how he was, and we will see continuing the lesson. While I was wondering about it all, Mr. Ample mounted his chair and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow." So he tells very clearly that it was his last class, and the next day onwards the Berlin had ordered them to continue German class. So the French teacher is going to teach a last class for them, and he had to bid a goodbye for the school. So it is very clear, children. This is your last French lesson. I want to be very attentive. What a thunderclap these words were to me. Oh, the wretches, that was what they had put up at the town hall. So now Frank understood what was the situation. So the teacher, you can see that the teacher is teaching its last class on the board. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive. So you have to be very attentive. And what thunderclap, there was a thunderclap, these words were to me. So it was a thunderclap for him. Oh, the wretches, that was what they had put up at the town hall. So they put up, that's why the notice board had been put up this, and everybody was crowded in that place. So he was thinking in his mind, my last French lesson, why I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn anymore. I must spot there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs or going sliding on the saw. So he was thinking, my last French lesson, why I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn anymore. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs or going sliding on the saw. So he was thinking, I missed so many classes and this is the last class. I didn't learn French properly. So that was running in his mind, and he felt that it was the last class for him and he had not learned much, and he was not happy with that, why he had not learned. So he was thinking he would have learned the lesson instead of going outside and seeking for the bird's egg and playing in the slides. He would have learned French. So he was cutting the class and bunking the class, and he was just going out and doing this all. So now he thinks that, he realizes that his mistake and why he had not learned so many days. If he had planned well, he would have learned so much lessons. So he was thinking that. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry. My grammar and my history of saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And M. Hamel too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. So now he is saying that it is the last class, and after that he is not going to see the French teacher, M. Hamel. Now the boy felt so much heavy in his heart, and he feels, my books that I had seemed such a nuisance. So he thought books were nuisance for him, and now he is thinking how foolish I have been for so many days. so heavy to carry. So I thought those books were so heavy to carry, and my grammar and my history of the saints were old friends. So I thought they were all old friends. Now he felt very much in his heart, and he thought that how he was so many days and he must not meet Mr. Amel after this class. So that all were running in his mind. The idea that he was going away, that should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. So the idea that he is not going to meet him made him feel that however cranky and however he was using the ruler in the class, that all ran away from his mind and it all erased from his mind. Poor man! It was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes. And now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. So now he feels, poor man, it was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes. And now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. So now he understood why the crowd of people were in the classroom and why Mr. Amel, that is Hem Amel, was just dressed in such a fine clothes how he wear in Sundays. It was because they were sorry to that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking a master for his 40 years of faithful service and of showing their respect for the country that was there no more. So here those crowd were there. For 40 years he worked in the same place and done a service for the place and of showing their respect for the country, and that was there no more. So they want to show respect and they want to respect him and they want to bid a goodbye for him. So for that the old people of the place that gathered there to give a send off for him. While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. So when he was thinking this all in his mind, his name was called. It was my turn to recite. What could I not have given to be able to say that dreadful rule for the participants all through? Very loud and clear and without one mistake, but I got mixed up on the first words and stood there, holding on to my desk, my heart beating and not daring to look up. So here it was his turn to recite a poem and he was doing it. When I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. So the teacher called his name and immediately was just started reading it. It was my turn to recite. What would I not have given to be able to say that dreadful rule for the participle all through? Very loud and clear. He was reading very loud and clear and without one mistake, but I got mixed up. So he had not made a mistake, but I got mixed up on the first words and stood there, holding on my desk, my heart beating. So he was holding on the desk and his heart was beating and not daring to look up. He was not ready to look up anybody. He is bending and standing after making just confusion in words. So he had not made any mistake, but there was a confusion in the first word and second word and he just made it. For that itself he felt ashamed and was holding the desk and there was a fright in him and he was just standing, bending. He is not dared to look at the teacher. I heard M. Hamill say to me, I won't scold you, little Frank. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, bah, I have plenty of time. I will learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. Ha, that's the great trouble with Alas. She puts off learning till tomorrow. So here again he says that just remember, you have to feel now. You were thinking that you can learn tomorrow. And see now, every day you was thinking like that and the last day came. And now there is no time for you to learn anymore. So the teacher explains the situation very clearly to him. So he says that every day we have said to ourselves, every day we were saying, what we are saying, but I have plenty of time, I will learn it tomorrow. So I have plenty of time, I will learn that tomorrow. So that was the reply from us. And now you see where we have come out. You just see where we are now. So this is the last lesson, and any more days we can't learn French in the place. So that is great trouble with Ella's. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it? You pretended to be Frenchman, and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. But you are not the worst. Poor little Frank. We have all a great deal to approach. So approach ourselves with. So now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you. So the other people will be having a right to say to you. What they'll say? How is it? How is it? You are pretended to be a Frenchman. You pretended to be a Frenchman. Yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. So that will be the word used by others. But you are not the worst, poor little Frank. We have all a great deal to reapproach ourselves with. So we have, you only not the person, others also like that. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. So it is not a mistake of you alone, it is your parents also. So your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They preferred to put you to work on a farm or at the mills so as to have a little more money. And I have been to blame also. Have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you a holiday? So now the teacher feels very sorry, and he feels that it is not only a parent's mistake. They are not anxious about you learning about. Instead of you learning, they were sent you to the farmers and other workplaces. And not only that, when you came for learning, sometimes I gave holiday for fishing, and sometimes I made you to water my garden. So it is my fault also. So he is saying that. Then from one thing to another. So one thing to the another. So here says he was just blaming him and his parents, and as well as he accepted his mistake that he had not taken him a proper guidance. He had not advised and counseled them. Hamel went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it. Because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. So now again he says that, then from one thing to the another, he was pointing out one thing to the another, and then he says, Hamel, the teacher, French teacher, went on to talk for the French language. He was talking about the French language. It is a beautiful language, it has like that, and he was talking about it, saying that it was the most beautiful language in the world. So he says that French is the most beautiful language in the whole world. The clearest, the most logical. So it is the clearest language, and it is most logical one, that we must guard it among us. We must guard it among us and never forget it, because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. So again he says that it is a beautiful language, it is in the world, and the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it, because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. So here he is saying that they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. So here, if now that day onwards, if they started learning and started learning and loving his language, French language, it will be a key to their prison. That means they must not learn French. They have to start learn German on next day onwards. If anybody is having interest and they started learning, they'll be put in a prison. So it is a key for the prison. He says very clearly. Then he opened a grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. All he said seemed so easy, so easy. So then he opened a grammar and read us for a lesson. So he took a grammar book and read a lesson for them. And I was amazed. So Franz was not liking the French language. Now he understood it very easily and he was amazed, he was wondered and he was surprised to see how well he understood it. So he felt very happy and how he understood it. All he said seemed so easy, so easy. So after attending the last lesson, it was so easy for him because he was observing very clearly and listening very carefully, and he felt that everything was so easy for him. I think to that I had never listened so carefully, and that he had never explained everything with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it all into our heads at one stroke. So I think too, so he was thinking too, what he was thinking, that I had never listened carefully. So now he understood he was not listening carefully in the previous classes. And that he had never explained everything with so much patience. He had not explained with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it in all into our heads at one stroke. So here that was the last lesson in the last class, how much he can teach and how much he can put into the people's head. That much in easiest way he was explaining, and that last class was so energetic and it was understood by him very clearly. After the grammar, we had a lesson in writing. So after the grammar class, we had a letter writing. We had a lesson in writing. We had a lesson in writing. That day, Hen Hamel had new copies for us, written in a beautiful round hand. France lost, France lost. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom. Hung from the rod at the top of our desk, you ought to have seen how everyone set to work and how quiet it was. The only sound was the scratching of the pens over the paper. So he was started writing it, and the teacher, and it was round and it was looking, and everywhere it was floating, and they can see only these words, France alas, that was the word, and all were pin drop silent, and only the scribbling sound had been heard in the classroom, and only that sound is heard, and everyone was just writing. Only the scribbling of their writing sound, the pen sound had been heard. They were writing in the paper, and that sound alone was here, and pin drop silence the class was. Children, we will stop here and continue in the next class, and see you in the next class, children. Until then, thank you, children.